So checking. A little louder. How's this? Whoa. Yeah, thumbs up. Okay, good. Welcome everyone to a Saturday with Clear Mountain. It's good to see everyone. Today we're joined by our sister Aya Santachita. So Aya, for those of you who don't know, she was born in Austria and she went to college for cultural anthropology in dance, I think, and was the costume designer and choreographer of a dance troupe, I believe. Something like that. In 1988, she met Venerable Buddhadasa in southern Thailand, one of the most esteemed monastic teachers in the last century in Thailand. And after entering the Buddhist path from about 1993 to 2009, trained as a nun in largely the Ajahn Chah lineage, as well as in Thailand or in Asia. And then in 2009, with Ayananda Bodhi, she started Aloka Vihara down in California. And in 2011, took full ordination as a bhikkhuni. And is now beginning a project called Aloka Vihara, Aloka Earth Room, which she can describe in more detail. Actually, would you like to describe a bit about Aloka Earth Room, Aya?
Testing, yeah, okay. Yeah, actually, I started it in the spring of last year. You know, when Ayananda Bodhi and myself decided that we going to, leave behind the forest monastery because we had increasing difficulty, to sustain the forest monastery with the wildfires in the Sierras. And then I moved to San Rafael, which is just north end of the Golden Gate Bridge, and started the Aloka Earth Room. And I'm inspired by the work of my first teacher, Ajahn Buddhadasa, who, used art as a means to teach. And, I try to bring together my past as artist with being a nun, and also being really very cold, feeling cold to work in the field of responding, to the climate collapse, which is upon us, and help, people to develop more skills to be willing and able, to turn to what is happening, rather than trying, to get away from it, or hoping that some big kind of a guy is going to fix it for us. So that's at the root of what I'm doing now.
And you can find more about Aloka Earth Room. We have stickers and pamphlets in the back. And if people are interested at all in donating today to the project, there's a box in the back. And I believe also Kate Davies is here as well. And I believe checks can be made out to Sarna Loka Foundation, and that's in the back.
And Kate is one of our board members of the Sanaloka Foundation, which is, looking after Parayana Vihara for Ayananda Bodhi, and also after the Aloka Earth Room where I live. And if you have any question, you can ask Kate. And actually, it's not, I don't have any pamphlets there, but I just have a card and another card. It's two different cards, actually. Yeah.
And just to say, Aya, many of you know Ayananda Bodhi, Aya Santachita and Ayananda Bodhi just really were foundational in kind of starting the Bhikkhuni lineage in the US. And she's also been a reference point of integrity and clarity for Ajahn Kovilo and myself in terms of navigating this landscape of the Sangha in North America in the modern age. So this is her first time visiting Clear Mountain on a Saturday. And it's also, this was, I believe, her 28th year in robes. So if we can get 3 big sadhus for Aya visiting us, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you. I just want to say something, Bante, because I remember, years ago, I don't know how many, maybe 5 years ago or 6 years ago, Ajahn Nisabo came with his parents, came to a Lokavihara forest monastery where Ananda Bodhi and I were living at that time. And he was asking, what he could do, to maneuver kind of proactively in the landscape of Theravada Buddhism without, kind of setting off bombs. And what would be the right way, to start helping, the evolution to, like an earthworm, to make some space and help, with metabolizing the past so that the future might be a bit more expansive than what it just has been a few years ago. And I had an idea, what he could do, and I wasn't thinking he would do it because it required some courage and some willingness, to what's the word, challenge, in a kind of grounded way, and he really did it. And and I really appreciate that because I don't know any other monks in the Ajahn Chah lineage, who have done that so clearly. And if more would do it, it would be so much better, for the Ajahn Chah lineage, I think, and for everyone connected with the Ajahn Chah lineage. And I'm saying that, having trained in that lineage lived in England with Ajahn Sumedho and the Siladhara Sangha for about 16 years. And I have benefited a lot, from the opportunities there. But at one point, I could no longer support it because it was like hitting the ceiling, and in order to stay in the box, one wasn't allowed to grow. And female practitioners were supposed to be perpetual novices, for their whole life. And that's just not okay in this day and age. So I thank you very much, for being willing to rock the boat in your way, Thank you.
Thank you, Aya. And yeah, Earthworm Dhamma. One teacher told us that Ajahn Kovilo and I should be articulate earthworms. So yeah. Thank you, Aya. And to say that the project at Aloka Earthroom really is special. It's a merging of art, environmental concern and care, and the Dhamma, and it's utterly unique. And so we're very happy to have Aya as a friend, a sister, and a visitor here. Thank you, Aya. A few business points. First to Janaki, actually. Please. Quickly, that'd be great.
So few people were looking for rides. So if you are going and if you have room in your car, just you can post it on Discord in the Seattle room or in our new WhatsApp groups. People are looking for rides. And to Olympia for the Pasadi Vihara Katina ceremony tomorrow. And it's in the afternoon tomorrow.
Yeah. Can you raise your hand if you're looking for a ride to Pasadi Vihara here? We got James. Devin, anyone offering a ride or going to Pasadi Vihara? All right. Kirk, Jeremy, and Samir. So we'll let you all connect, James with the others, etc. Great. And Devin.
And Kate and I, we just visited yesterday, actually, the day before yesterday. Yeah, we had a cup of tea, and Ayan Yanika of Pasadi Vihara, she lived with Ayan Bodhi and myself for about 3 years, at the Loka Vihara Forest Monastery. And and Ayasa Vichana, I know her since Amaravati times in England, where she came when she was a laywoman and, was looking into ordination and so on. Yeah.
It's kind of beautiful to see this family forming on the West Coast. And Kate just taught her with Aya Senta Chitta as well. So we're glad to have her. A few other final announcements. Next week will actually going to be like I said, I think a UW career conference here. So you can either join that, or for some of us, we'll be in a classroom just up the stairs and to the right there. It can only hold about 40 people, maybe 30. So if you're on the edge about coming next Saturday, feel free to tune in online. We are happy to get you, but it'll be a little cozy, which is okay. Additionally, we did just start a WhatsApp community where we have a channel for Seattle events and meetups for people to post there, ride shares, and a giving circle. So we're going to see how that goes. Additionally, we're going to have a cork board up at the front where people can post meetups that they want to host. So we really want to encourage people to think about hosting a monthly or bi-weekly event, a Dharma gathering, a little retreat, a dinner, and just try to make this community interweave in that way. Am I forgetting anything? Okay, so I think we'll start with the actual talk. Nimon Kap.
Okay, thank you. So let's just start with settling in for a few minutes. Now, after we've heard all of those different news, just really, landing here in the space and just allowing the breath to take you into the body. And sensing the weight of the body on the cushion on the chair. That's actually, the gravity of the planet, which is keeping us where we are right now. And we are all sitting just above the center of the earth right now. And we are not sitting on the earth, we are actually in the earth. The atmosphere going up several miles, getting thinner and thinner. And at this time in the history of life developing on this planet, we're starting to wake up to the fact that we are participants of the planet. We are not just sitting on top of it, but we are participating and we are altering it. And we're becoming conscious of that. We need to become more aware of the impact we have. So sensing the weight, grounding, and the community here. And with the out breath, letting go of any stress, any worries you have brought with you today, letting it all drop down into the earth. And with the in-breath, breathing up the stability, the vastness, the support. These earth bodies of ours, which are sustained through eating, drinking, breathing, going to the bathroom, sweating, all of those different ways, how we are in constant exchange and communication with the bigger biosphere. and learning to sense the body, feel the body, rather than thinking about it. That's the big challenge in the practice, to come down from the head into the direct experience of what it is, to have or to be a body, a human body, which is completely and utterly dependent on the biosphere and all its nourishment it gives to us. And that's not something we can understand really completely with the thinking mind, but it's a good start. And then we have to drop in. Being in the body. And allowing this direct relationship to teach us about the Dhamma. So I just want to start with a poem which I have brought today. And it's called, the Latin word for earthworm is the title of the poem, which is Lumbricus terrestris. And it's by somebody called Rosemary Vatola Troma. And I thought it's a beautiful way to set the stage, quote unquote, for this little teaching, which I'd like to share with you today. So, Lumbricus terrestris. On a day when the world is weighty, dark and dense with need, I want to be the earthworm that gives itself over to tunneling, its every movement as an act of bringing spaciousness. And when minutes feel crushed by urgency, I want to meet the world worm-like, which is to say grounded, consistent, even slow. No matter how desperate the situation, the worm doesn't tunnel faster, nor burrow more. It knows it can take decades to build fine soil. To whatever is compacted, the worm offers its good worm work, quietly bringing porosity to what is trodden, compressed. So often in my rush to repair, I end up exhausted. Let my gift to the world be my constancy, a devotion to openness, my willingness to be with what is. Let my gift to myself be patience, as I tend what is dense and dark. Let my gift to the world be my constancy, a devotion to openness, my willingness to be with what is. Let my gift to myself be patience, as I tend what is dense and dark. So this openness, towards our own experience in the body, and also towards what comes to us from the so-called outside. This openness is very important. And for example, Ajahn Chah, who has been the founder of the lineage, we all three of us have trained in. He spoke quite sometimes about earthworm practice as a practice of patient perseverance, which is the most important basic ingredients for a successful practice, that steadiness. And the Pali term for that is upekkha, which can be translated in different ways. And a synonym for upekkha is the word, I have it written down, is the word tatra macha tata, which means there in the middleness, in the middleness between getting completely lost in what is happening and turning away from what is happening. Finding the middle ground of, staying open, but at the same time also grounded. And, the word upekkha features quite several times, in those lists of the early Buddhist canon. And, two of the listings I find most important to consider for our practices, as a factor of awakening, bojjhanga. Upekkha is translated as equipoise, which means, in the dictionary, equipoise is explained as an equal distribution of weight. Like if you're in a kayak, in a boat, going down the river, being, not too much on the right, not too much on the left, being in the middle, and because of that, being able to move with the current. And so that's one way, and that's an equipoise towards our own mind states. And then upekkha can also be, seen as a brahmavihara, as a limitless quality of the mind. And in that context, it is translated as equanimity, and in particular, equanimity towards the mind state of others. So first, we need equipoise with our own mind states. And from that grounding, we can also have equanimity towards what comes to us from the so-called outside. And in this way, openness, is kept. And because by nature, we are open systems, because we are in constant exchange, with the biosphere through eating, drinking, breathing, learning from others, being in relationship with others. So keeping that open from a sense of groundedness and from a sense of connectedness. And in this way, we start to change. And the third way, how the word upekkha can be looked at is as a paramita, one of the 10 perfections, also one of those lists in early Buddhism. And in that context, it is translated as serenity, clear, calm mind. And so those three different ways, of looking at upekkha as equipoise, equanimity, and serenity. I think this is a very important medicine at these times, where there is so much confusion and complexity and kind of an inability to really figure it all out. It's, even we have more and more powerful computers, more and more powerful technology, but the capacity, to really figure it out, it's getting less and less. So because of that, I think it's really important to remember to come back into the body with this sense of upekkha and to trust, that the body is a different kind of intelligence. It's a bigger brain, in a way we can say, which is in constant exchange with the bigger biosphere, who is, evolving as this planet for more than 4.5 billion years without anybody of us directing it. So it obviously knows what to do. So for me, I really think at this time, at this threshold time where we start to understand that we cannot solve all of the issues which are upon us with the intellect, with the thinking mind. The thinking mind can be support, and we need the intellect and all of its wonders, which it has been able to create, but it needs to be informed by a different way of understanding ourselves. And I think that way is about really understanding on a direct experiential level that we are part of a living, intelligent earth who knows what to do. And we need to train ourselves, to be able to sense and feel into this deep embeddedness in the biosphere. Because generally, our education in this modern world is all about training the intellect. And now we need to remember that there have been times, when our species has been living in much more in harmony with the biosphere. And we have lost, this capacity to sense and feel because of the overemphasis on the intellect. And there is still, people left of our species who have some of those memories still alive, mostly indigenous people, which make up about 5%, of the world population. It's about 460 million indigenous people living at this point, and they take care of about 80% of the biodiversity. So there's a huge imbalance. And just taking that in, and knowing that we are also from indigenous lineages, of course, all of us. So this information, is available to us. It's part of our heritage, through having these Homo sapiens mammalian bodies. So it's also not about, going back and live in the jungle or something like that, but it's about coming full circle and bringing together our intellectual capacities with the grounding of the knowing, that these bodies are part of a living, intelligent earth, and they have emerged out of that earth through the help of our mothers. And when they get old and die, they're going to go back. There's composting funerals available these days, which is a very elegant way to go back. So to allowing that to sink in, that these bodies are actually, riding animals for consciousness. So consciousness can make experiences and expand, until there's no more separation. And, the Buddha's teaching has a lot of supportive practices for that. In particular, the first establishment of mindfulness about the body, the practice of the elements and the body parts, and, reflection on the mortality of the body. There's 3 powerful practices which can reconnect us in this way, and bringing the Buddha's teaching into this time of waking up for our species, that we are all part of a living, intelligent earth, and we can't all go to Mars or do something crazy like this, but we have to practice here. We have to make it work here, and we are all together in this. and combining, our practice of trying to liberate ourselves from samsara with an expansion of perception about what it means to be a human being at this time. The Buddha's teaching comes to us, from Iron Age India, and there was no climate crisis at that point. So there was no need to think or speak about those issues, but it's different now. So, to whatever we can't be in relationship with, whatever we can't sense or feel, we need to overthink. And then we're just going to be, 5 hindrances in the head, turning it over and over and over, and reinforcing those habits rather than finding skillful ways to outgrow those habits by coming back into the body and being in relationship to our own experience, direct experience. And I, like to share a guided meditation rather than talking about it, because that's also, conceptual understanding, which can be shared through talking. And this is like signposts, but then we really need to turn towards where those signposts are pointing. Otherwise, they are rather pointless. So let us just sense again the body sitting and breathing in and breathing out. And you don't have to do anything difficult or special, just opening your mind, opening your heart to the guidance, and allowing your mind to respond. That's, the mind being filled with what is experienced in the present moment. That's what mindfulness is all about. Allowing your mind to be full with present moment experience. Which is just the body sitting and breathing in and breathing out. And the gravity which gently pulls us towards the ground, showing us, where we come from, where these bodies have arisen from. And also being aware of the community, everybody who is here. We are doing this together. And with the out breath, gently imagining we are sending down some roots into the soil underneath this building. No pressure. The roots in which go down into the soil, which is made up of lots of life forms, which have died. Plant material, animals, human beings. It's a very rich, dark presence, which is alive. And, like an earthworm, we can turn towards it rather than being just interested what is extracted. And, transformed into all kinds of amazing stuff. So seeing, if we can sense the presence of the earth underneath this building, or whatever, happens, is there a sense of numbness or boredom, confusion? What is present in the mind as you're opening to this guidance? So breathing up the stillness, the vastness, the richness of the earth. As it enters the body, and earth element in the body is in particular the bones and the teeth. And I'm breathing up that stability, and then I'm sweeping from the tips of the toes, slowly sweeping up the legs with our awareness, and then sensing the bones, the hardness and structure of earth element, how it holds up our bodies. And then from the legs, we come to the hips, the pelvis, then the torso with the rib cage and the spine, bones, earth element. And then the hands and the arms, bones, earth element. Shoulders, bones, earth element. The neck, the vertebrae, bones, earth element. And then the skull and the jaw, the teeth, bones, earth element. This whole body is permeated by earth element. Earth element internally in the bones, and earth element externally in the mountains, the rocks, and the concrete of the cities is exactly the same earth element. Earth element is empty, empty of a self. And if we don't ingest earth elements through food for 1 or 2 months, the body is going to collapse. The body is in constant exchange and never cuts the umbilical cord towards the biosphere, the earth. And in order for earth element, to form a body, there needs to be cohesion. And that brings us to the next element, which is the water element, which stands for flow, wetness, and cohesion. Like putting water into a bowl of flour, it's going to become a dough. And we can sense the water element in the softness of the flesh, which is permeated, by lots of liquids, consisting about 70–75% of water element. So we start now on the top of the head and the head itself, and sensing the wetness in the mouth and in the eyes, and also the softness of the flesh, the cheeks. Softness, flesh, water element. And then we sweep down to the neck. Softness, flesh, water element. And from the neck, we are coming to the shoulders. Softness, flesh, water element. Down the arms and hands. Softness, flesh, water element. And then the torso with all of the organs inside. Softness, flesh, water element. The hips, the pelvis, softness, flesh, water element. Legs and the feet, softness, flesh, water element. This whole body is permeated by water element. Water element internally in the flesh, and water element externally in the rivers, the lakes, the rains, and the ocean is exactly the same water element. Water element is empty, empty of a self. And if we don't take in water element for about 5-6 days, the body is going to shut down. There needs to be a constant exchange. And we never cut the umbilical cord towards the planet, the biosphere. We are inside of it, like an earthworm. And we are now at that threshold of the evolution of our species where that becomes conscious because of the pressure of the climate crisis. And in order for water element to form a body, it needs to be of a certain temperature. If it's too hot, it evaporates. If it's too cold, it's freezing, becomes hard. So that brings us to the next element, which is the fire element, which we can sense on the surface of the skin, where the skin meets the air in the room. Maybe you experience it as neutral, cool, or warm. That depends on the temperature of your body. We are starting again, at the tips of the toes, skin, temperature, fire element. And sweeping up the legs, the hips, skin, temperature, fire element. Over the torso, skin, temperature, fire element. The hands and the arms, skin, temperature, fire element. The shoulders and the neck, skin, temperature, fire element. The head, skin, temperature, fire element. This whole body is permeated by fire element. Fire element externally coming to us from the sun and from the center of the planet is exactly the same fire element. Fire element is empty, empty of a self. And, we can extend the range within which a body can live sustainably through housing and clothing and heating, but it is limited. And depending on the resources we extract from the planet. So to just let it drop in how we are participants of the planet. We are not separate. This is an old paradigm which is now falling apart. And through the cracks, we can see the new paradigm starting to emerge. And understanding that we are part of a living, intelligent earth, and we need to listen how we can contribute to more sustainable practices for the benefit of future generations. The responsibility of taking on that challenge and not waiting for somebody else to rescue us. It's a one-by-one realization, like the whole teaching. It has to be realized individually by the wise. And, heat and cold is a result of friction, which takes us to the next element, which is the wind element, which stands for expansion and contraction, stands for pressure and movement, and we experience it through the breathing process. Breathing in the oxygen, which is coming to us from the plant life. All of the oxygen on this in this planet was created by plant life and also some plankton life. And sensing the in-breath and the out-breath. And not breathing for 3 to 7 minutes and the body is going to shut down. It's an immediate relationship with the biosphere. And allowing all of that to sink in, and the Buddha's teaching is not a descriptive teaching telling us, what it is, fire element, what it is, wind element, but it gives us a prescription how we can directly experience it through sensing into it, through the nervous system of those bodies, which have been evolving on this planet since over 4.5 billion years, is the accumulated capacity of long time of evolution. And increasing, complexification and capacity for bringing awareness to those processes. What we are doing right now in this very simple, direct sensing and feeling, rather than writing endless books about it and not being able to embody it. So it's time for all of this to come down into embodiment. So it really makes a difference and preserves, what is still there. so that future generations have a place to land as well. And trusting, the intelligence of this self-regenerative, intelligent being we call planet Earth. It knows what to do. But we need to listen. And, using the information lines, which are all there through eating, drinking, breathing. The earth in the body and the earth in the bigger body of this planet is the same earth element, the same water element, the same fire element, the same wind element. Trusting that. And whenever fear arises, confusion, agitation, numbness, bringing spaciousness to that, like an earthworm. A humility, a consistency, a willingness to be part of this vast mystery. Which talks to us, but not through words. Whatever we can sense or feel, we need to overthink. And then we get all caught up in rushing and quicker and more. Which is just repeating the same thing all over again. Because, the level of consciousness which created this crisis can't solve it from that same level. It's just repeating. But there needs to be a dropping in. There's a beautiful saying by a well-known teacher called Bioakumulafe, and he says, times are urgent. We need to slow down. And then all around us, space element, and also throughout the body, listening into that spaciousness, which doesn't end at the walls of the room, limitless space, and silence. And opening ourselves to the unknown, opening ourselves to what we don't know yet. From a sense of grounding and willingness to understand what is being asked of us. And that's a process. Because it's the way of looking at what it means to be a human being at these times, which needs to be adjusted. Understanding ourselves as participants rather than victims or controllers. We are participants. Trying to control is one extreme, and being a victim is another one. And the middle path is to be a participant on the Noble Eightfold Path at this time. And before we are ending, I'm just going to read the poem one more time. Lumbricus terrestris. On a day when the world is weighty, dark and dense with need, I want to be the earthworm that gives itself over to tunneling, its every movement as an act of bringing spaciousness. And when minutes feel crushed by urgency, I want to meet the world worm-like, which is to say, grounded, consistent, even slow, no matter how desperate the situation. The worm does not tunnel faster, nor burrow more. It knows it can take decades to build fine soil. To whatever is compacted, the worm offers its good worm work, quietly bringing porosity to what is trodden, compressed. So often, in my rush to repair, I end up exhausted. Let my gift to the world be my constancy, a devotion to openness, my willingness to be with what is. Let my gift to myself be patience, as I tend what is dark and dense. So just noticing, how that feels in the body, to hear those words, to sense into the non-separation of the body from the bigger body of the planet. And then, coming back to the breathing again. Yeah, as we are slowly, getting ready to come out of the meditation and, noticing you're not alone in this practice. We are doing this together. And we can have, some time for comments, or if there's anyone who would like to clarify something what has been said.
Andamayam Dhammakatayu Sadhu Karang Dharamase. Sadhu, 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 anumodami.
Okay, so we can open things up. Thank you very much, Aya. Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, we have Miles as a mic runner, so you can just raise your hand and we'll bring a microphone to you so everybody can hear. And also on Zoom, if you have any questions or reflections to share, you can just use your cute little cartoon hand and we'll call on you there.
So I have a question. You mentioned that you see humanity, or we're coming to a point of, I forget the word you chose.
Threshold?
Threshold, yes. What can you explain what you mean more by that? I see as more running towards into a wall personally, but that's just another perspective.
That's one way how, if you choose to see it as a wall, it's going to be a wall. It really depends the way of looking, what is happening. And I see it more like a waking up, you know, to understanding that we are participants of the planet and not separate. That's, you know, that's the, in a simple way, what is happening, you know, for our species. And there is, you know, always when we stand on a threshold, then there's always those, you know, who want to go back into the past, and those who are kind of hesitant on the threshold itself, not really getting it yet, because it requires practice, you know, to really understand. And those who understand and try to go, you know. And yeah.
Thank you, Haya. The line from the poem of our gift being, or constancy, just really struck me. Could you speak some more about that idea of constancy?
Yeah, you know, constancy is like this earthworm, like, you know, patient perseverance, or upekkha, however we want to call it, you know, to be okay to not know, you know, rather than saying it's a wall and we're just gonna all die, to say, I don't really know what's gonna happen. And I'm applying myself to whatever is in front of me. There's constancy, you know, whatever is in front of my nose, like an earthworm, you know, and not trying to figure it out in the head, but, you know, going into the body and sensing, oh, you know, I feel there's a lot of fear, and then I make in my mind up a concept that I'm in front of a wall in order to make sense of my experience. But to rather be with the however it feels in the body, you don't need to make a story out of it, you know, that willingness to feel and sense, you know, basically the first two establishments of mindfulness, to be in that experience and then see what it throws up in the mind, you know, like this would be the third establishment of mindfulness, seeing, oh, you know, there is aversion. I rather don't want to be here. And then aversion can manifest as fear, as anxiety, as hatred, whatever you want, you know, and being conscious of that and then making a choice to not give into that. That's the constancy, you know, to be with the unpleasant feeling, the contraction in the body, and not split it off into the head and make a story out of it and then wallow in that story, you know, endlessly. But to just whenever you notice it, you drop the story and you come back into sensing and feeling. And that's, you know, how we metabolize, how we digest together, you know, because we're all afraid, we're all confused, you know, on one day more than on another. And that's the work, you know. And through the metabolizing of, by feeling and sensing, you know, more clarity arises, because we have the, you know, that's like how you are, or how I am cultivating what's called the 7 factors of awakening, you know, by being willing to be in the experience of the 5 hindrances, you know, and not losing myself there, but coming back into the body and making, you know, creating openness, you know, like an earthworm, but the contraction, you know, of, you know, wanting to defend oneself against that which is scary. So, you know, and for us, you know, particular, all, you know, people here in that room, you know, probably all of us quite educated, you know, we haven't really, you know, gotten much conditioning in terms of sensing and feeling. Yeah, it's all about like figuring it out in the head, and the concepts, the languaging, and all of that. Also, you know, being really careful with languaging, because languaging really determines how we think, and then how we think determines and what we see. And then we're stuck in that box, you know. And then we think, oh, just let me kind of make an end to all of it, because it's an impenetrable wall. But it's only like that if you think it's like that, and if you sign on to that, that's what you co-create, you know. But you can also humble yourself and experience the way we are in constant exchange with the biosphere, and there is no wall. Yeah. Oh, sorry, and maybe you would like to say something to those things too, or not? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's such a beautiful poem, and a great question too about constancy. And I think it's such a common theme that you see with practitioners, definitely see it with myself, is that you first hear about Buddhism, you hear about Nibbana, and you think, oh, I do a weekend retreat and it's going to be where I am way up to Nibbana. And I just keep on that constant, you know, weekend push. But you do it, and you do it over the weekend, and it takes longer than a weekend. And you think, oh, I do my week-long retreat, and that's going to be the constant up to Nibbana. Or I do my 3-month retreat, my 3-year retreat. I be for, you know, 3 decades or however long, and then Nibbana. And it is, the earthworm is such a humbling practice, because however long we've been in the path, hit those rocks, you hit a rock, and it's like we're working both with our ethics, the sila, our meditation, the samadhi, and our wisdom. We just keep hitting these rocks, and it's not constantly up. It's, we got to go hit a rock, and then we actually go down and around, and we hit a plateau. And yeah, you just have to have the constancy. Is the constancy itself varies over time. Our capacity for being constant and what that actually means varies. And so constancy of sincerity, I think, is something that you definitely see at monasteries. And honestly, you can see in a community like this, how enlightened any individual one of us is, can't really say, but they're very sincere places, and the constancy of that sincerity over time, because in Theravada, it is a long game. And yeah, it's a gradual awakening, and we do have sudden insights. So we need to do both at the same time, and the constancy is just a key factor. So earthworm, humility.
Just one small thing, maybe, in addition to those really beautiful comments, just that I think when you step into practice, I think the earthworm really is a good analogy, because it's like we really think, you know, before we practice, we map the landscape onto this landscape we're walking over, and there's this whole other strata of being you're moving through when you begin to practice, and it's always available. So someone was saying today that when they're in pain, it's much easier to be mindful. And there's this one quote from a sutta where this non-venerable Dhammadinna says, pleasant feeling is pleasant when it remains and painful when it changes. Painful feeling is painful when it remains and pleasant when it changes. Neutral feeling is, I think, unpleasant or neutral when experienced without mindfulness, and pleasant when experienced with mindfulness. Unpleasant when experienced without mindfulness, pleasant when experienced with mindfulness. So just all things equalizing in the face of the heart that holds it all as practice. I think that's a beautiful idea of consistency as well. We have a Zoom question. If we can call in Vandana, is that who it is?
Yes. Yes, Sergeant Vandana. So, greetings, Aya. It was a very, very powerful talk and a thought for everyone to keep reminding that Dhamma is here right now. We don't have to go anywhere to learn the Dhamma. Dhamma is everywhere around you. And the 5-element meditation which you guided, it's just so close to my heart always, that seeing myself, all these elements interacting with outer and internal world. And but one thing which I noticed just now, that even with all the elements, even the earth, fire, water, I start to see the space in them. I don't know if it's a new thing coming up or what, but in all of them, it's like everything is just coming is not, it's like earthworm, right? The earthworm is keep on refining the soil and there is nothing left, and then it's all pure, and then earth is going to reproduce, and the earthworm is going to do its job no matter how much time it takes. So it's such a beautiful, I would say that I think there's such a, my heart feels so happy. That's what I want to say. So much gratitude, so much respect. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so much. Thank you. This is really appreciated. I am professionally trained as a biologist. Now, starting from today, I'll think of myself as an earthworm, going constant speed, working on something, whatever I need to work on, and yet still have this umbilical cord attached to the earth. That's something I've never imagined, and it's so empowering, enlightening. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, it's really, to see the thinking makes such a huge difference, and it can open up a sense of enrichment and embeddedness, in something so much bigger than oneself, or it can be like a wall, you choose. You are in control how you want to condition your mind. Do you want to condition it towards, a greater sense of openness, or do you want to, kind of shut down? And once you notice that is up to you, that's so much, central to the Buddhist practice. This is why it is liberating, because we are open systems naturally, And this simple meditation I shared with you is a way how we can experience that truth, that we are open systems, and we can choose how we want to engage with that truth.
Thank you so much for the practice today. When I think about the planet, my mind can expand and include it all, but it can also expand and get overwhelmed with the massive amount of suffering on the planet. And so in training in this way, I know that maybe it would be wise to sort of make smaller and smaller, take smaller and smaller pieces at a time, right? Like in some traditions, it's like 1 day at a time, or 1 hour at a time, 1 minute at a time, 1 breath at a time. So could you give some maybe examples of workable things that are maybe in various size increments that we can, actionable things that we can do?
Yeah, for example, the practice I was just sharing, that's something you can do every day, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, and if you feel, a sense of feeling called, to contribute in some way, if we do, for example, a practice like that, which helps to have more clarity about the fact, that we are all participants of the planet rather than just on top of it, being either victims or being dominators of it. If you through this practice, become more realistic who you really are as a human being, then in that sense, it will start to dawn on you what your contribution is, according to your skills, according to your gifts, your talents. We all contribute in different ways. Nobody else can tell you what you should do. But to recognize, to be more clear who you are as a human being, that is a good basis to find out for yourself, and not on your own, to do it in community. You're not alone in this, and then see what what emerges for you, because there will be a response, as you are making yourself more available by doing the practices and opening up, these wrong understandings, it will dawn on you, it will become clear, and it's not going to be necessarily a quick fix, but it requires that humility, and because it's a crisis of humility, actually, the whole crisis is a crisis of humility, and we all need to do that practice, and you have to put your money where your words are, so to say. Do it, and it will emerge.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
If I can just add that the root of the word humility is humus,
Yeah.
earth. So I'm sure you know that, but it's
And
good.
human, human, humility, humus, and not to forget humor. Because we always want to have it the easy way, who wants to be an earthworm? It's not very sexy, it's not very flamboyant, but that's what it is, that's what we are. Huh? What did you say?
Sorry, I didn't know the mic was still being passed around while we laugh. Yeah, my perspective is depending on which earthworm you look at, depending on the journey, which step it's on, you might not know it has feet.
It doesn't have feet, as far as what I've seen there, the footless ones.
Yeah, well, some of them
have feet.
Yes, and there's a way to know, but
maybe you can show me next time when I'm coming.
They do have, James, I think they have.
It wasn't my example.
They have 5 or 6 or 7 hearts, which is quite a romantic part about the earthworm. So.
I did not know that. That's so cool. Really? I did not know they had a heart at all. I thought it was just like, this white slug, and it's if we're on Earth, that looks like a worm, earthworm, whatever.
Perfect.
Yeah, maybe they have several hearts.
Yeah, you can. Well, you shouldn't do this, but you can cut an earthworm up, and it will
continue.
Is that accurate? I mean, I've been told that. Okay, good. Yeah, but we don't advise this as monastics.
No, absolutely not. But maybe they are not as vulnerable. They maybe don't have a centralized heart like we have, but it's spread out throughout the whole body, right? Like a plant life, for example, is like that, very resilient. You can cut such a small piece of a plant, it continues to live. So we can learn, actually from other species a lot about adaptation and resilience. Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Maybe Arnold on the Zoom.
Yes, hello. Thank you so much. I really appreciated that practice. And now I have a new admiration and respect for worms that I haven't had before. And it's especially funny because I'm a gardener. So I also just thought how it's interesting too that sometimes you see them on the road and stuff after it rains because they need oxygen. They need to be able to breathe. But I was thinking of the parallels of this with my Taoist Qigong practice, where there's a practice where you can envision yourself becoming a tree and growing roots, and then growing, your head becomes a crown of branches. And I really appreciate the parallels between Buddhist practice and Taoist practice in that regard. And thank you so much for reminding me of that and for this practice, and I'm being able to be a part of this Sangha today. Thanks.
Thank you.
Earthworm chi, interesting. Wonder what that looks like. Well, that might be the last question that we have time for this morning. Could we do one more? Do we have? Okay, let's go. Can't see your name from here. Marianne?
Hi, yes, that's right. Thank you. Thank you. Something that really stood out to me during the meditation on the elements was the empty of self. the fire element empty of self, and really being able to feel that also, the impersonalness of that in my own experience. And that just felt really important. I wonder if there's anything else you can share about the idea of non-self, or the idea of selfing, and how that is connected to the situation that we're in, a climate crisis. Thank you.
I mean, I think that would be a huge, long answer, but we don't have much time. But I think, the experience of self is always, connected with some kind of suffering, right? Some kind of an experienced separation and a contraction. And to just, see the link between that, the, identifying as a self is productive of suffering, and to, through practice, to start to question that, and slowly but surely opens that up, brings more spaciousness, and then temporarily, we can experience a liberation from that in the meditation when thought activity stops. But there's also a permanent ending of that, and that's the goal of the practice. So as simple as that. Or as difficult as that.
Thank you, Aya.
Thank you.
So we can come to the part of the morning where we kind of share just mentally and from the heart all the goodness that we've done together this morning, listening to Dhamma, sharing Dhamma, meditating. And we have a feature on our website in the community where it's called the Blessing Braid, and people can go online and just bring other people, relatives and friends into our thoughts. And yeah, just invite maybe Kirk or Cheryl to read the names from the Blessing Braid. We can just keep these people in our hearts.
Yeah, we got baby Sachi Gudis, having genetic disease, bedridden, age 6, spread happiness and peace. Sunita Bondi, having chikungunya from the last 1 month, spread happiness and peace. Michelle Benjamin, recently passed, spread merit for a fortunate rebirth and grace for her family. Jeff Tucker, recovering from knee surgery, spread metta. Kwai Lon Wang, passing.
Yeah, and if anyone here has any names to bring into the space, please, Matt. Christine. Yeah, please. Jessica. Jan. Jin, recovering from surgery. Bonnie, also recovering.
Dean, passed away, fortunate rebirth.
Oh. Damien, who passed away. Elisa. Yeah. Bring those. Yeah. Ancestors. Lisa, thank you. Keep all these names, all these people. Janaki.
I just also wanted to say that it's Ajahn Nisabho's birthday on Tuesday.
That's right.
So let's please remember and wish him as well.
That's right.
We'll do an
Tuesday.
actual celebration, and I promise there'll be balloons in a couple of weeks.
Let's keep all these people in our hearts. Not Ajahn Nisabho until Tuesday, but everybody else. We'll just sit with that for a while and And we can chant together, continuing this practice with the verses of sharing and aspiration on page 33 of the chanting book. Now let us chant the verses of sharing and aspiration. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, and through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease, and all harmful states of mind, until I realize Nibbana in every kind of birth. May I have an upright mind, with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble guide. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled.
So I think we have time today to do our usual thing of putting new folks on the spot, just a little if you want. So if you've been here 3 times or less, feel free to raise your hand and just say your name and how you heard about us. And if you're feeling shy, no pressure, but we just want to give you a chance to introduce yourself to a very nice room of 70 strangers. Welcome, Susan. Thank you. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Jamal. Welcome. Okay. So just a few final things. First, once again, if you have any miscellany or forks, knives, etc., talk to Janaki, and apparently we can use them here. Also, if you are interested in being a setup or takedown volunteer for our Saturdays, we always can use more, so also talk to Janaki. We may need an one more AV volunteer to help with that team. So talk to Kirk or Cheryl in the back if you're interested in helping us make these teachings available to a wider realm of people. Most of you know that in our lineage, we don't touch money. Everything here is offered truly, freely, and we're just so grateful to have this community forming. We have books in the back. They're free. Please take some. We also have wonderful people who bring a bunch of food to share, and they will be disappointed if you don't help eat it. There's a lot. So please go back, have some. Feel free to contribute in the future as well. But most importantly, just come together as a community, talk to one another. And we encourage people, as usual, to make the first person you talk to be someone you haven't spoken to before, if you can. There's name tags in the back, online events, etc. A bathroom there in the hallway, as well as here. And finally, Aya, thank you so much for your path. Many people have begun to pick up on this, but it's kind of a historical moment in the refounding of the Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha. And it's no small act to take up, to be the earthworm blazing that trail, so to speak. And maybe that's an appropriate analogy in the context of today. But Aya, we're very grateful for all you've done and for visiting us, and just for your friendship and years in robes. Thank you so much. And we have a present for you. It's a ta-da.
I'm gonna look at it later.
And if we can give 3 just big sadhus to Aya from Clear Mountain. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Yeah.
And is there anything, would you just like to say goodbye to the community or anything
We're
else?
staying here, right?
Yes,
A bit longer, I think.
that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. I think we have half an hour conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have a chance for people to come up and speak to Aya for the next half hour or so.